On March 8, 1921, the remains of a boy were found floating in a pond near the O'Laughlin Stone Company in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Authorities estimated he was between 5 and 7 years old. He had blonde hair, brown eyes, and a tooth missing from his lower jaw. He had been struck in the head with a blunt instrument. The boy could have been in the water for several months. He was dressed in a gray sweater, underwear, black stockings, a blouse, and patent leather shoes. The clothing quality suggested the child was from an affluent family. Therefore, he was named Little Lord Fauntleroy, a fictional character from a novel of the same name. Police displayed his body at a local funeral home, trying to identify him, but no one claimed the body or seemed to know who he was. The boy was buried on March 17, 1921. An employee of the O'Laughlin Company said he had been approached by a couple 5 weeks before the body was found. The woman, who wore a red sweater, asked if he had seen a young boy in the area. She was reportedly crying. The man accompanying her was seen watching the area where the child was located. They later left in a Ford vehicle, but have never been found. A possible scenario for the case is that Little Lord Fauntleroy may have been abducted from a wealthy family in another location and disposed of somewhere else to prevent his identification. After the investigation halted, money was raised by a local woman, Minnie Conrad, for the child to be buried at the Prairie Home Cemetery in Waukesha. She was later buried in the same cemetery in 1940, after she died at the age of 73. Since the time of the boy's burial, there were sightings of a woman wearing a heavy veil who would occasionally place flowers on the boy's grave. Some have speculated that this woman knew the actual identity of Little Lord Fauntleroy, but her identity also remains a mystery. In 1949, a medical examiner from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, suggested that investigators felt there may have been a connection between the unidentified boy and Homer LeMay, a 6-year-old who disappeared around the same time the child died. LeMay was said by his father, Edmund, to have died in a vehicle accident during a trip to South America when he was being cared for by family friends, described as the Nortons. But there was no existing record of his death. Edmund LeMay stated that he learned of his son's death after receiving information from a South American newspaper that detailed the accident. But detectives were unable to find any information about the vehicle accident as claimed by Edmund, nor could they find evidence of the two Nortons he spoke about. While Edmund LeMay may have been the best suspect at the time, DNA testing did not exist then, so no definitive connection could be made between him and Little Lord Fauntleroy. Ultimately, the clues dried up, and nearly 100 years later, the real identity of Little Lord Fauntleroy and the circumstances surrounding his life and death remain completely unknown.